Hello everyone and welcome to Voice of the Box. Today I'm coming to you from Bellevue, home of Seattle University. It's really not the home of Seattle University, but we're at Bannerwood Baseball Stadium, home of the Seattle University Redhawks. Joining me today, Dan, and you know what? As a good member of the media that I'm not, I gotta make sure I say your last name right. Why don't you say it for me?
It's Giuliani.
Just like it looks on paper. Okay, Dan Giuliani. Dan is the voice of Seattle University Baseball. First of all, thanks for taking the time to join me.
Oh, absolutely no problem. Love to do it.
You know what? I kind of read through your background. I don't want it to be a resume read for us and for my viewers, but you've got a real unique slice of the sports industry, being in the broadcast piece of it. Tell me about, you've got some real interesting background, whether it's soccer, you've got baseball. Maybe step me through kind of how you broke in.
Well, actually, I played Division III football back at Colby College in Waterville, Maine. And I knew I wanted to be a coach out of college. That was my first thought. Okay, I loved the game. I wanted to go be a football coach. But the lifestyle that football coaching demands, the recruiting, didn't really appeal to me. And so I dug way back towards my childhood dream, which was doing play-by-play. And when I was a young kid, Matt, I was in the shower, and instead of singing, I would work on my Ken Griffey Jr. home run calls, growing up a Seattle kid. And so that was something I always wanted to do. I have a theater background along with an athletic background, so for me it made a lot of sense to do broadcasting. And I got involved with a semi-pro soccer team, the Seattle Wolves, last summer. And that was actually my first gig here in Seattle. Then I went on and did some high school football, then University of Washington women's basketball, and now here Seattle University baseball. And another little unique element to my background is I'm actually a certified strength and conditioning specialist as well. So I've worked as a strength and conditioning coach along with a football coach, a player, and now a broadcaster.
See, maybe now it's like put my shoulders back and arch up. I'm still not as puffed up as you. That's all right. It's called make the hustle.
I could puff down.
No. You remain properly puffed. You know what? There's probably the bulk of what I like to do with Voice of the Box is really to try to give an educational component to students, whether that's high school or college, or maybe just adults that are interested. The broadcast piece of it has changed so dramatically over the years, with the internet, but the actual voice of a team is never going to change. What has been your key to success? You've gone up, and here we are. You're the voice of a Division I college baseball team. That's pretty darn good. There's obviously places you might want to go, but what were some of the keys to get you to where you are, at least today?
Well, one of the things that always appealed to me about being the voice of the team, as you said, Matt, is the faces on the team change, the names, the numbers, the coaches change. One thing that always remains steady, at least in professional athletics and a lot of big-time college athletics, is the voice of the team and the connection with the fans.
Right.
And I think of Bob Rondo and the University of Washington. You think of Dave Niehaus with the Mariners and Kevin Calabro with the former Sonics. And all those guys were all the probably most recognizable voices or even faces for those franchises or those schools. And so that was something that always appealed to me. In terms of my breaking through, so far, it's been a lot of just perseverance and continually looking for that next opportunity. And when you get the opportunity, it's just getting the job done when you get the chance. And for me, you mentioned the new technology side, the webcasting, and that's been huge for a young broadcaster trying to break into the business. The radio side of things is more of an older person's game at this point. Guys who've been in it for a long time.
Sure.
But if you're just trying to break in, for relatively minimal costs, you can get yourself an internet connection, you can get yourself some basic equipment, and you can sell yourself to a team like Seattle University, first year of Division I baseball, first year of basable actually since 1986.
Yeah, I know there's been a little lull, and there's obviously basketball was a big splash. Maybe not people don't know about the baseball, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and it's there are a lot of people out there who want to have their games out there on the air, and if you're looking just to get experience, which is what I was doing right off the bat, it was soccer, sure, I'll call soccer, I'll call football, I'll call basketball, baseball, anything.
Right.
Just to get some time with the headset on and just to get some experience.
It's refreshing to me personally because I grew up listening to the radio in the Bay Area and my favorite teams, and I know that people, all the kids out there, they turn on ESPN and they think, hey, what's my next, how do you say, cheeky expression that these guys are coming up that you see on ESPN, but actually doing a play-by-play is a totally different game. Let me just kind of tail into the next question, which you kind of maybe hit upon a little bit, and that is, you obviously have interviewed for these jobs, for the Wolves Football Club, meaning soccer, for those of you that are thinking football, here at Seattle University. Was there anything that you can think of that gave you the edge over perhaps other people that were also interviewing for the same role?
I think that one of the things that helps me a lot is my unique background, and I have some I have some different qualities than I think a lot of play-by-play guys have. A lot of people who get into play-by-play broadcasting are that they're typically more on the sports statistics side of things. They're a little more fan-based than they are experience-based. More color analysts typically are the ones who have the playing experience. But having the experience of playing sports at a relatively high level in college, having the background of being a coach, also a strength and conditioning coach, I think sets me apart a little bit. So when you're interviewing for a job, anything you have, even if it's relatively unrelated, if it sets you apart, at least then you'll stick in the minds of the people interviewing. And also I typically present myself relatively well. I try to always have a professional air about me, even when you may not think that it's necessary. If you can err on the side of professionalism, I think it always benefits you, because you never know who you're going to meet and when. And this business is a lot of networking. It's a lot of who you know, and a lot of most of the jobs that I've gotten actually have been just connections through people I've worked with, or through people who know people who have a good impression of me.
3 last questions. The last two of the next 3 will be just kind of gut reactions. Biggest challenges to what you do, and I'm not looking at this as a negative, spirit of the question, but challenges in what you do, play-by-play for a baseball team.
I would say that the first thing is it's the old boys club, just breaking in. It's hard to get into the business. Once you're in, the challenges of actually calling the game, it's just very slow. It's baseball, so you got to fill a lot of time.
And you're doing this by, I didn't ask on the front end, do you have someone that's working with you?
I do.
Okay,
I do. I have a color guy who's actually he's the director of baseball ops for the club, or for the baseball team. So he actually has a lot of inside knowledge, which helps me a lot. If you don't have that banter in baseball,
it's got to be tough. I was going to say, you wouldn't possibly be a one-man show in baseball. That would kill you.
It would.
The second question is obviously not. We're going to flip that over. What keeps you coming here? There's obviously some excitement. I didn't mean to hit on the negative. I like to give my viewers a realistic approach to what your role is like.
Right.
But obviously, there's the excitement. I think probably those things I can assume a lot. What is it that keeps you coming to the ballpark every day?
I love being part of a team. I absolutely love being part of a team. It's one of the biggest draws to this industry for me is, you mentioned being the voice of a team. I travel with Seattle U, ride the bus with the guys. You get to know them. When they lose, you feel it. You feel it in your heart and in your gut. When they win, you get that same elation, and that's hard to find when you're an adult. Unless you're a coach or a trainer, you don't really get to be part of the team anymore. And it's something I always wanted to do, and so that's an absolute joy. Plus, I love baseball, and a nice day like this out at the park to watch a baseball game, nothing beats it.
You bet. As we wrap up here, I know we're coming up on first pitch, so I want to get you back to your booth. I always like to kind of end with this question because it tends to get some good information out. Is there any guidance or pearls of wisdom that may have been dropped on you just through some people, maybe you interned at some stations, or people that were more senior than you when you were kind of going up through the ranks, that stuck with you, that you in turn would pass out to someone else that's looking to break into this? What would you say, or what stuck with you?
There are a couple things. The first thing is getting experience calling any kind of game. Is Little League, youth soccer, anything you want to do. If you go out to a game and you just want to get comfortable calling the action, it doesn't matter what level it is, just get the experience is the first piece of advice that's really helped me. Also, you mentioned interning at the radio station. I worked at KJR Sports Radio here in Seattle for 6 months as an intern. And one thing that taught me, and it wasn't necessarily a piece of advice I got, but you kind of see who treats the interns well and who doesn't. And some of the guys who have already made it to the top forget what it's like to be at the bottom trying to start out. And a lot of the guys who are at the middle are the ones who are more willing to reach out, and because they were there more recently. And so, one thing I'm going to try to take away from that is, assuming I do get to the top, which is where I'd like to be eventually, I never lose sight of what it's like to start out. And this first year of experience for me has been invaluable, and just remembering what it was like to try to, to try to break in, I think it's going to be really important.
Right, and I think that I don't want to put words in your mouth, but making those connections along the way and never forgetting, either helping or someone that you're asking for help, to never forget those people. Dan Giuliani, voice of the Seattle University Redhawks baseball team, thanks for taking time right here in Voice of the Box.
Absolutely no problem. Thanks for having me.